Hello.
Christian Romero and Pierre Hojberg are available to feature this weekend?
Christian, no. He's got an injury, he's out. Pierre trained yesterday, so we're hopeful that maybe he can help us at the weekend.
And how severe is Eric Dyer's injury? Will he be available to take a full part of pre-season? Are you expecting him to be back for that?
I think so. I think the hope and expectation is that will be the case, and I guess why that's why the operation was taking place so quickly.
Final match on Sunday, European qualification out of Spurs' hands. How much of a blow do you think it would be for the club to miss out on Europe altogether next season?
Yeah, obviously it has its implications, and it's not where the football club want to be. We definitely want to be competing in Europe. Any European competition, it's important for a club this size. But at the same time, I think the most important thing, regardless in or out of Europe, is that there's a plan, there's an idea, and there's commitment from everyone going forward.
Today marks 2 months since Antonio Conte left. Has the uncertainty around the next manager, the sporting director leaving the club, has that had an effect on the squad and ultimately the results as well?
Possibly. I mean, the results before he left weren't amazing, so I don't think the results have dipped a huge amount. Obviously, we was in a different position, but I think you could feel it. You could feel it the weeks leading up to it. There was uncertainty, and it's never great to have uncertainty. And I think we've been in that situation probably for the last 8 weeks where there's a lot of uncertainty, and I think that's why one of my main things when I kind of come in with my team of people was to try and create a togetherness and make us feel part of something towards the end of the season, and then hopefully to lay some foundations to build where we want and expect this football club and this football team to look and play like in the future.
Arne Slot has decided to stay at Feyenoord amid interest from Spurs. Do you think the club is still an attractive proposition for some of the best managers in the world?
Absolutely, yes.
Why do you feel that's the case?
It's history. It's Tottenham Hotspur. It's a big club. Not just for managers, coaches, for staff members, for players. Anyone here should feel the privilege and the honour to represent this badge. And if they don't, then they shouldn't be here. It's really as simple as that.
And finally for me, Ryan, still a huge amount of uncertainty around Harry Kane's future. I won't ask you whether he's going to stay or whether he's going to go, but if this is his last game this weekend, how would you sum up his impact at the football club and what he's achieved in his time here?
I can't sum it up because he's still our player. I think when you sum something up, it's something that's a closed chapter and you speak about the past. That's certainly not the case. But I think for any player, any manager, any member of staff at this football club, when one leaves, it's important to have a succession plan in place. So when people do leave this football club, the next one comes in and the impact isn't so big. That's not just speaking about Harry, that's speaking about other players, because ultimately in 2 months, 2 years, 10 years, 20 years, Tottenham Hotspur Football Club is still going to be Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, and there'll be players that come in, staff, coaches that come in and out. But for me, it's really important that there's an identity and a real idea in all departments.
Thanks, Niv.
Hi, Ryan. Good afternoon.
Hey.
Leeds are fighting for their survival. It's going to be a very challenging atmosphere. What do you think you need to do better as a collective compared to the previous game to get a win and then a goal?
First of all, I think we probably need to be clinical when our chances come, because the game last weekend, I thought the first half was probably as good as we've been this season in terms of with the ball, chances created, creativity. I've really enjoyed watching us. So it's important to take those chances when they do come, but then also understanding that opposition are going to have their moments. And in those moments, you need to stick together. You need to make blocks. You need to make saves. You need to get through it as a team. And ultimately, that's what cost us last weekend. Yes, it wasn't a great second half, but their 2 key moments on 55 or on 60 minutes, they were clinical, and it changed the complete flow of the game. So that's something we're fully aware of.
Do you sense from your players that feeling of anger, frustration, and mainly a desire to react after what happened against Brentford?
Not sure. I'm not sure. I think naturally as a professional, when you lose games, and we've lost games in the last weeks and months, far too many for this football club, that is something you would hope and expect to feel. And of course, go into Ellen Road, you know it's going to be intense. You have to enjoy that. That's something to enjoy. It's a big game for them. It's a big game for us, and we need to use it to our advantage as much as possible.
This year, the team played in the Champions League. How determined do you think the players are to qualify to the Conference League?
Yeah, listen, I think it's important. This club's in Europe, but the bigger picture and the most important thing is the direction and the commitment for the club, because we see, and we've seen a lot in recent years in the Premier League, is that you can be up here 1 minute and down there, and it's important that you're stable and you're strong to get through those moments.
You know Harry Kane as a teammate as well. The way he was leading Spurs, the consistency was showing this season. What do you think is it down to?
The quality of player, the technical ability, probably most importantly the mental strength as well. Top player, been doing it for years. The consistency is incredible, and yeah, he's been amazing this season.
And for you, that was your second time taking the caretaker manager job here at Spurs in the last 2 years. What have you learned about yourself, your coaching style, especially in the last few weeks, who have been really challenging?
Yeah, obviously a strange one, because I think 2 years ago the results were better, but we're miles ahead in terms of me and my team, the work we've done. I believe more now than ever in what we are and who we are. Understand and realistic in terms of the current situation, when you want to create a certain football team to play a certain way. We see all the time. You need time to change that. You need a pre-season, you need time to work. And I would like Tottenham to be an intense team with and without the ball, and to create that after playing 45 games this season is difficult. And ultimately, there's been times in games in the last few weeks, few months, where we've just not been good enough, and it's cost us results.
Thanks, Niv. Ali?
Just going back to Eric Dyer for a moment. Sounds like maybe it's been a problem that he's had for a while. How much do you think it hampered him in the way he played?
I'm not too sure, to be honest. I'm really not sure. These injuries, I've been a professional, I know what it's like. You have injuries that linger, that are difficult, and maybe a slight change in training, or a change in the way we wanted him to play, and asking his body to do something different might have flared it up a little bit. I'm not sure. But ultimately, it's an injury that needed to be sorted, needed to be operated on. And I'm sure after this operation, he'll come back stronger and better than what he was before.
Is it one of those, was there any temptation to maybe have it earlier in the season, or was it always something that was looked towards the end?
No, I don't think so. I think it was a case of trying to get through it and manage it as much as possible. But like I say, probably at the moment, well, he certainly couldn't manage it. So that option was taken away from us.
Just kind of looking forward a bit, obviously there's a lot that has to happen in the kind of meantime anyway, but eventually there will be the transfer window. How much work do you think this squad needs in the transfer window to compete again?
Of course, I think there's work, because we have a big squad. We have a lot of players on loan, and there's decisions to make. First of all, there's a lot of decisions to make about our current squad. So that's probably the priority. But I think the most important work is probably away from the transfer window right now, because you need a manager in place, you need a commitment, you need an idea, and to know where you go. You can't do transfer business without a manager, because it might not fit his idea. And at the moment, I believe that, yeah, we need an idea of what we're going to do, who we want to be, and stick to it, recruit people for that, and ultimately recruit players for that.
You use the term earlier, succession plan with players. Should that also extend to staff as well?
Yeah, no, I think, maybe my memory is wrong, but I think I did say not just players. It's not about players, it's members of staff as well, because if you want to be a successful football club on the pitch, then I think everyone working for the organisation, the football club, they need to be on board with what we are and who we are. And I think when you have an idea of that, when people leave, I think it's probably easier to pick people to come in and it makes it a lot more fluid and easy to plan for these type of things. So, yeah, I hope going forward that certainly is the case.
Just last one for me. How difficult is this going to be for maybe yourself but other people as well to judge kind of this second period for you because of the time frame?
For me personally, sorry. Yeah, look, I think naturally people just look at results because that's the nature of the business. I get that. But at the same time, I think football people, certainly people inside this building, inside this football club, will know the work we've done. Absolutely, I've no doubt about that. And like I say, I don't care how many years' experience you've had to try and change so much in such a short space of time is difficult. I think it's a lot easier, for argument's sake, to go from a back four to a back five, as opposed to a back five to a back four, when a team had been working for the best part of 2 seasons that way. But I'll be honest, it's what I believe in, and I have to stay true to myself. And especially in this moment in time, we've got a lot of injuries. We're quite limited with who we can pick, and that's probably influenced some decisions as well. But yeah, ultimately, I come away from it with more belief. I trust my team, I trust my people, and I know the work we've done.
Thanks, Ali. And finish with Charlie, please.
You mentioned there about the results were better last time, but you feel miles ahead this time. Why then do you think the results haven't matched what they were in 2021?
Yes, it's a good question. Maybe fans not being in the stadium then, the feeling the game was a little bit different. Now the intensity is so high, and we're probably coming off the back of like a more, I won't say uncertain period, but there is uncertainty, and I think probably it's translated far too much to the outside world than what it should have done, and maybe that's affected the players. It could have easily been very different in terms of the results, but that's football. That's football. We see it all the time when new managers go into clubs at the start of seasons, midway through season. I think historically in the last couple of years, we look at successful teams now and successful managers, and it wasn't easy at the start. The results probably weren't as good, but they stuck to who they were. They kept believing in how they felt that football club should be, and ultimately when that happens and when everyone's on board and players, staff, fans buy into that, I think it's easier to turn it round. No, I don't. I just think because of COVID, I think it changed. Like football was different. The Premier League 2 years ago with no fans in the stadium, it was just a different game. Naturally, when you lose that intensity, you lose that real, I say connection, the emotion. It just wasn't there. So I think it was a different league and a different period to what it has been now. I think there's always disappointment when you lose. Absolutely. Like I said, after the Brentford game, I was proud of the players in terms of the shift they'd done from a mental point of view. The things we was asking, the regains higher up the pitch, the aggression of our defensive line, how we played with the ball, the fluidity, the freedom, the creativity. It was really, really good. But in this moment, when you switch off for a split second in the Premier League, it's tough. You get punished, and we got punished for a few moments where I don't want to say it's understandable, because obviously I expect and demand a lot more. But at the same time, this stage of the season, I think when you're asking them to do something physically different, mentally different, after having played 45, 50 games in a long season with a World Cup break, having lost a member of staff during that, having lost a manager, 2 managers, yeah, it's not easy.
You're obviously in a really unique position, I suppose. You've seen it from lots of different sides. Where do you sit on how say, oh, the players are unmanageable. What's your view on those sort of takes?
I think my view is quite clear in terms of we probably had 2 or 3 different styles of football in the last 2 or 3 years, and I don't think that's good for any squad of players, for fans, anyone. It's very hard to become stable, and like I say, when you lose people, when you lose coaches, when you lose players, members of staff, the impact is huge if you keep going from different things. And like I say, I think going forward, it really is important. And we see it in the Premier League, we see it across the leagues in the world, that I want people to know who Tottenham are, know what a Tottenham team should look like, and certainly know what a Tottenham player should look like.
Just lastly, would that then be, if this is the end of this stint, would that be the kind of message that you want to leave to the club as to how to lift themselves back to where they should be?
Oh, this is just how I view what the situation is. Obviously, there's going to be loads of conversations in the summer about going forward. There's a lot of people here that really care and want the club to get back to where we want, expect and hope us to be. So yeah, them conversations, those decisions, I'm sure will be made in the summer. I trust the people that are making the decisions.